In this video, I'm going to compare the Galaxy S21 5G from Samsung and the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. Let's go ahead and get started. The Samsung Galaxy S21 is your go-to flagship Samsung device with 5G, and the OnePlus Nord N10 is a low-budget value 5G phone from OnePlus. So both of these phones are on the opposite end of the price spectrum. The S21 is going to cost you $800 brand new. Obviously, you can get it for cheaper the longer it's been out used. The OnePlus Nord N10 has an unlocked price of less than $300. And if you go on prepaid, such as Metro, for example, here in the US, you can get it for as low as $50. So you have hundreds of dollars on the S21 side, and the OnePlus Nord you can get 5G in a up to $50 for this lowest price. The S21 overall size is 6 inches tall, 2.8 inches wide, 0.31 inches thick. The N10 5G is 6.4 inches tall, 2.9 inches wide, and 0.35 inches thicker. So the overall bigger, taller, wider, and thicker device is the N10 5G. Weight-wise, the S21 is 5.96 ounces, very lightweight device, versus the heavier N10 at 6.7 ounces. For the build quality, the flagship S21 has a glass front with Gorilla Glass Victus, plastic back, and aluminum frame. The N10 5G has a glass front, which is Gorilla Glass 3, plastic back, plastic frame. Although the S21 has an aluminum frame, both of these are going to feel very similar, and they're both going to be plastic. It's going to be mostly a plastic feeling device. There's no glass or anything premium really about either of these phones, except one costs $800 brand new, while the other one can be had for as low as $50. So the N10 5G wins that. The S21 has an embedded eSIM, which gives you options to have two different data services, two different phone numbers. You can swap them in and out, and you don't have to go to a physical place to get a SIM card activated. While the OnePlus Nord N10 5G does not have that here in the US. The S21 has IP68 dust and water resistance. You can dunk it in water up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes, while the N10 5G does not have any of that. Display-wise, the S21 has a 6.2-inch screen. The N10 5G has a bigger 6.5-inch display screen. The S21 has 87% screen-to-body ratio. N10 has 83% screen-to-body ratio. S21 has a dynamic AMOLED display with up to 120 Hz refresh rate. N10 5G has an IPS LCD with 90 Hz refresh rate. Resolution-wise, the S21 has a 1080p Full HD display, which has an overall PPI of 421, while the N10 5G also has a 1080p of Full HD display, and it has a PPI of 406. So to break it down, you're gonna have a bigger screen overall on the N10 5G. It has a high refresh rate. The S21 has a at times higher 120 Hz refresh rate only at certain times. But when you break it down to the PPI, the resolution, and how you look at it, both of these are pretty good because they're north of 400 PPI. So it's not a really big advantage that either one of these have. But if you look at the price, $800 versus $50, that's a big difference right there. For the OS and the software, you have Android 11 on the S21 with Samsung One UI on top. The N10 5G has Android 10 with Oxygen OS on top. The main difference here is that the S21 has a newer version of Android and will get several updates in the future, while the N10 will only get probably one future update, and it still hasn't been updated yet. So you have a newer software experience on the S21, and you're going to get a special Samsung feeling software, a lot of customization, and a lot of people like the Samsung software. while the N10 5G has more of a stock version of Android with Oxygen OS, and it also has its few tweaks here and there. The S21 has a top-of-the-line Snapdragon 888 chip, while the N10 5G has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 690 chip. Obviously, the more powerful chip is the S21, but the N10 chip is no slouch. You won't notice on average apps and applications. Most people won't notice that stuff, though 99% of the apps will run pretty much almost identically. You might be a little bit faster noticeably on the S21, but most people probably wouldn't notice that difference from everyday apps like YouTube and Snapchat and WhatsApp and Maps and stuff like that. You won't notice a huge difference. When it comes to the RAM, the S21 has 8 gigs of RAM, N10 has 6 gigs of RAM. Both of these amounts of RAM are more than enough for most people. You'll keep several apps in the background, and that's another slight difference between these two devices. Internal storage on the base storage is exactly the same. You get a generous amount of 128 gigs of storage. That's more than enough for pretty much 99% of people out there. The S21 does not have a expandable storage, while the N10 5G has micro SD card slot expansion. So if you do really care about storage, the N10, which is a budget device in price, beats out the S21. Let's talk about cameras. The S21 has a 12 megapixel main shooter, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide, so triple camera setup. The N10 has a 4 camera setup, 64 megapixel main, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel depth, 2 megapixel macro. Out of both of these cameras, the S21 will give you better quality pictures and overall better video quality. The N10 5G is average at best, but it will be happy for most people. It should be more than acceptable in the right light and in the right conditions. The S21 shoots video in 8K, while the N10 shoots at 4K. 8K is a little bit of overkill on the S21, but it is a flagship, so if you care about video and pictures, the S21 has your back. It'll always take pretty good pictures and video, while the N10 5G is very respectable and very good video quality for the price. Moving on to the selfie, the S21 has a 10 megapixel shooter, N10 has a 16 megapixel shooter. S21 shoots video in 4K on the selfie. You get 1080p resolution on the selfie on the N10 5G. Again, you're getting a little bit better quality on the S21 selfie, but overall, most people will be happy with both. The S21 does not come with a headphone jack, while the N10 5G does have a headphone jack. So you had an advantage with the N10, so you could plug in your headphones, your mic, or connect it to your car via aux cord to listen to music. So you get more options on the OnePlus Nord N10 5G, and it's a budget device and has a big advantage over the flagship. Both of these are very capable with wireless devices. Connecting to wireless devices, you have Bluetooth 5.0 on the S21. N10 has 5.1 Bluetooth. Both of these phones will connect to your wearables, your smartwatch, your smart band, your wireless headphones, your speakers. Both of these will do a good job of that. Both phones come equipped with NFC, and that's for payment services. Both phones come equipped with a USB Type-C port for charging, same port used on many other devices such as laptops and tablets and iPads and MacBooks and Chromebooks and Windows PCs. Very, very compatible port. One bonus on the S21, it has Samsung decks and wireless decks. Basically, you could use this phone connected to a monitor and use it as a desktop experience. Last but not least is battery. The S21 has a 4,000 milliamp battery. The N10 5G has a 4,300 milliamp battery. So you have an advantage on the budget device on the N10. It's bigger than the 4,000 milliamp battery in the S21. And that's very, very huge. And let me tell you why. 5G phones drain a lot of battery. And I think at the minimum, you should be having 5,000 milliamp batteries in 5G phones. So the flagship that costs $800, you're getting a very average at best battery, while the N10 5G, which is only $50, and it has a bigger battery than the flagship. So it's a big advantage on the N10 5G. Luckily, both of these have fast charging if you do manage to use the phone a lot. You got 25-watt fast charging on the S21, fast charging at 30 watts on the N10 5G. You also get wireless charging and reverse wireless charging on the S21. So in conclusion, which of these devices is better and which one should you get? Well, price-wise and value-wise, I'm going to have to roll with the N10 5G. If you really like battery, if you're very price conscious, you want something with 5G and you don't want to spend a lot of money, the N10 5G has a lot of advantages over the S21, such as the headphone jack, micro SD card slot, has a bigger battery. While the S21, the reasons that you should pick that one is if you just like and appreciate video and pictures. The S21 will do a way better job than the N10 5G. If you like getting a lot of updates, the S21 has that. Just a little bit better display. It has always on display, but other than that, the overall better device is probably going to be the N10 5G, just because of the value, well, mostly because of the value, and it has very comparable things that the S21 has, and has additions that the S21 does not. Well, thanks guys for watching. That has been my video on the S21 versus the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.